Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is currently May 10th, 2010, and this is Day9 Daily number 113 once again. I'm just going to restart this because I crashed the stream. I always have too many programs open when I begin it, so I'm going to try to just do a few live tests after this one to make sure it doesn't crash. So I'm going to do the same bookkeeping that I did last time, so just bear with me for like 5 minutes or something like that, and then we'll just bump right into the game. So, first of all, I'd like to thank all the people who've been sending me all those PMs, but unfortunately, I just haven't had time to answer them in the last 3 weeks. So if I haven't responded to you, I'm really sorry, but I just ran out of time. Something had to give. Kind of wanted to graduate, so, finish my second year of graduate school, but I have one more to go, so that should be good. If I can just get that out of the way, then I can do all StarCraft all the time. So, another news, I'm wearing my awesome shirt from Martin, from Austria, who sent this to me. It has this nice little V-neck here, so that way I look very European. It helps show off a little bit of my manly chest hair. And I'm also doing a co-cast with Greetorp for the GosuGamers.net Europe vs. Asia match. There's always been an issue with having the Asia players for StarCraft 2 play against anyone in Europe or America because of all the lag issues, but they've sorted all that out. I'm going to be participating as the commentator with Greetorp, so that's really awesome because I'll get to pick his genius brain about Terran and all that good jank while we're doing the little observant action. So definitely tune into that. It will be at 6 a.m. Pacific. Saturday and Sunday morning, so if you want, you can get up with me and drink coffee and watch the matches live, or you can watch it on demand. And if you're from Europe, the time should be perfect for you. So let's just go ahead and jump into this game. This is a game between me and Moonglade. I am going to just slide this back a little bit, so that way we can begin watching it right from the start. This is me as the Protoss. We're playing on Kulas Ravine. I do a less than optimal split. And what's really nice about this game is two things. First of all, this will be a nice opportunity for me to figure out what the hell I did wrong in this game as StarCraft 2 crashes. Isn't that just wonderful? Well, that's the story of my life, the fact that no matter what happens today, seems like it's not that good. Seems like everything's just going to be going bonkers, so I'm just going to go ahead and restart the StarCraft 2 unless it's stabilized, and by some miracle it has. So we're going to go ahead and continue to cast this game. So at the time we were casting this game, for some reason everyone was crashing. So it kind of took a little bit of time to end up working properly, but no big deal. It eventually popped back up. And we eventually got everyone watching. Fantastic. Hooray! So, anyways, on this game, on Kulas Ravine, we're going to get to see me analyze how it is that I lost. I was pretty irritated that I actually ended up losing this game. I did my standard opening that you guys probably saw me do against Artosis in the HDH Invitational, where I build a pylon out here. I'm going to be two-gating. I was even asking Moonglade if he was in TLI. He was in the HDH Invitational. He's a strong Zerg player. Had to play against Noni first round, which is a little bit unfortunate. But, pretty standard. Now, this build that I'm going to do, it's going to be a two-gate opening. I love two-gating versus Zerg. I think it's the best thing in the universe. And I'm doing a gate on 11. I was trying to figure out the best place to plant it down. I've actually never spawned in this particular position doing this two-gate, so I just sort of winged it. And this really, I think, was horrible placement, and here I am just sort of teasing myself about it. And then I'm going to be doing a gateway on 11 and a gateway on 12. And I'm also even saving up my Chrono Boost, which hopefully you can read at the bottom there. I have not spent a single Chrono Boost. I'm up at 73 energy right now. I want to be very, very aggressive with that Chrono Boost. I think I do spend one here. Just getting some extra probes so I can bounce up to 14 probes pretty quickly and build an additional pylon. So, the purpose of this is twofold. One, to see how I'm going to go about analyzing a loss, and two, how to, and for me, just to figure it out, because I haven't really had a good time to sit down and work through it. Because there's a few different classes of losing, I would say. One is just where you're having an off day and you just play horribly and you're just like, whatever, screw this game, and you end up losing, and, it's always a little irritating, but no big deal. These sorts of things happen. Most normal thing in the world. Then there's these other sort of losses where it's, like, really frustrating. It's like you weren't expecting it, like suddenly a bunch of Banshees come up, and you're just like, oh my god, he has Banshees? I didn't know you could get Banshees right there, and then you end up just kind of being like, well, whatever, I guess I lose this game, and you're sort of frustrated. But then there's this third class of game where you just lose and you have absolutely no idea why it is you lost. That's exactly what happened in this game, where I lost and I was just perplexed about it. So I really wanted to spend some time being able to check this game out and to figure out what exactly was going on here. Because for some reason, this just was not working out well for me. Or, excuse me, I should say it was working out well for me, but I just couldn't believe I kept losing battle after battle. So I'm opening up with this 2-gate. Why do I like 2-gating? Well, it puts a lot of pressure on Zerg. Oh, well, I practice it a lot, that's one reason. But it puts a lot of pressure on Zerg on Kulas Ravine. They don't have a nice little tiny choke. They have a big wide open, no ramp, no anything to help them defend. So they pretty much have to hold in their main somehow. So that really forces them to pull back. We even see this drone from Moonglade. It was thinking about expanding, but it ended up pulling back when his drone saw what I was doing. So I end up making a bunch of zealots and everything, and he gets a roach warren out very quickly. Now, what I need to do right now is I need to build a forge, build some cannons, and then I'm going to expand. If he didn't build this roach warren, I could keep making zealots, then expand, and then build a forge. I just like the fact that with 2 gates, I have the ability to put an outrageous amount of continuous pressure, and I'm more than willing to delay my expansion. So I whack away at him a little bit. But here is part of the game where I started to realize that I really need to start thinking about my placement a little bit more if I really want to be doing this opening on Kulas Ravine. I mean, I love the fact that there's these big wide open spaces so my zealots can really get in his face. He has to do some sort of defense here, can't do any ramp defense or anything like that. Even if he gets roaches, he runs the risk of getting surrounded at his front. 2-gating seems great. But look at this placement that I now have to deal with. Where the hell am I going to build cannons? There's going to be a reasonable spot. I mean, this really is a pretty significant issue right now. So I like build one cannon here because I'm like, well, I guess I need to cover here, and then I build another cannon over here because, you know, I guess I need to cover that. Still trying to poke in there with my zealots a little bit. This is now about the time that it's, you know, I have to start running away because he is going to be bringing out his roach. So that's normal. So just sort of pulling back. Everything normal as can be. I build another cannon. Look at me. This is me saying I need to rework my placement like a ton, but of course I say a TNO because to hell with fixing typos, that's just pretty normal. I mean, this is such bad placement. I mean, what was I thinking? This is just really pretty awful. So I build a Nexus, and then I really do need to start building some more cannons right here, or else I'll just lose to a straight up roach attack. I mean, you could just like attack move and then not even pay attention. I mean, I'm pretty much going to have to do a different style of opening on this map, but still, I like how strong this opening feels. It's great on Lost Temple, great on Steps of War, great on Blistering Sands. It's just an unbelievably kick-ass way to play. But, you know, not when this sort of stuff can happen. I'm making 4 cannons before I'm even able to put guys in my gas geyser, because I really just wanted the money, and I was feeling a little bit up against the wall. So I kill a roach. So that's good. I'm up 1. Go me. Big pat on the back for myself there. But Moonglade's expanding to the gold mineral expansion. Now let's just laud his genius a little bit here. That's obviously the best possible move he could have done right now, right? He has to hold back. He really has to defend this. But then he sees me going into expand mode. So that means that I'm pretty much going to be playing defensively. I'm going to need to be doing things like building more cannons. Going to need to be teching a little bit later because I'm getting my expansion up. All that sort of good stuff. So he has complete and total control to just expand right away. And he actually did that to me in several of the games that we played. And I was surprised at how effective it was. I would have thought that I would have been more ahead. But even when I don't need to build like 4 cannons like I do on this map, this is still a great choice. Like if I'm playing on Steps of War and I can get away with 2 cannons, and Moonglade did this, it's still pretty good. But I still like this opening. I still like the position I'm in. And I literally was feeling so confident this whole game. I was just like, oh yeah, I got this, no problem. Look at me, I'm transferring. The timing on the transfer, oh my god, it felt so good. I remember at the time I was like, I bet all these observers think I'm just the best, you know, ugh. And of course, while I'm gloating, Moonglade is proceeding to, you know, handily win the game. And as we can see, it's a pretty long game. So, you know, pretty typical. So there's a few things I'm being aware of on this particular situation that I'm in. So things I like to do are think about ways I could lose right now that I didn't. So just, again, you've heard me say this before. When I rewatch my replays, or should I say when an individual rewatches their replays, there's this tendency to look at the same thing you looked at in the game. Because where you were looking in the game is the place your brain said, this is the important part. So when you rewatch the replay, your brain is still going, that's the important part. But just as a test, watch one of your replays, and like if you're Protoss or Terran, Only watch your gateways or your barracks. Only watch those. You'll be blown away how often you slip up on your macro. If you're Zerg, watch your hatch and just stare at your larva count. You'll be blown away at how often that climbs up. So when I'm watching my replays, I try to do that. But in addition, I also try to point out to myself other ways that I could be about to lose this game. So here I'm like, okay, well, I'm at this natural expansion. I have this cliff here. This is a little unusual. This is not something that's on a lot of other maps, this cliff on the high ground, you know, with the minerals facing it. So I really should be taking out these destructible rocks pretty soon. And I can turtle a little harder and take out these destructible rocks and get my third up a little faster. And I'm nice and neatly tucked away. I think that's pretty good. I have my robotics facility up. My cybernetics core up. So I'm going to be getting the warp gate pretty soon. I'm also going to be saving up to get a robotics facility, so that way I can begin getting observers and immortals. Hopefully do a little something. A lot of times in this situation, I'll be making sentries at my gateways, because with all that gas being spent on the sentries, I can use all my minerals to build more gateways and do other fun things. You know, constantly making probes. I do a really good job of constantly using probes. I'm doing a good job of chrono boosting. Again, I just feel super confident. This is actually the only build I've ever truly done a lot in this matchup. I really have dabbled around in 2 or 3 other styles for maybe 20 games each, but this one I've played many games with, so I just feel very comfortable with the position I'm in. So, I'm aware that at this stage in the game I need to be scouting him more. I'm feeling a little bit up against the the wall because I have no idea what he's doing. I'm comfortable because I know that his Mutalisk could only be coming out about now, so I'm getting the photon cannons. I'm still continuing to build up stuff. Going to do maybe a little early push. Poke around here. I saw he didn't have his expansion. But he's just making a lot of drones. Note that he's already out-droning me, and he has a gold mineral patch. And wow, okay, he's also getting these 2 evolution chambers. So I'm just going to kind of stare at his stuff for a little bit. It just seems like his decision to take this gold was excellent. Just absolutely excellent decision to take this gold. This is really going to let him get ahead. So here's me being aware of all the other ways I could lose. Mutalisks, I'm thinking, no, I'm not too frightened by Mutalisks. Lings, I feel pretty confident against. I can throw some force fields here. Hydralisks I might have a little bit of an issue with, but I think I'm going to be okay with that. And now I'm getting some more warp gates. And I really like this 4 warp gate and then 1 robo bay. Little mixture in there. It gives me a decent amount of units. I get some immortals. And most importantly, I can crush down this back destructible rock and take an expansion pretty fast. I could get 5 or 6 warp gates, but I'd rather just save up and take another expansion. So I almost have +1 done. Am I still chrono boosting? Okay, good. I'm trying to solve how it is that I lost. And I think that already... at this stage in the game, I was thinking that I was light years ahead, when in fact I was pretty even, because Moonglade, you know, did the right thing. Taking this gold mineral patch, and he's making a whole bunch of roaches, and I think my favorite part about his build so far is the fact that he got this +1/+1 upgrade started so fast. Because when you do this, when you do have this +1/+1 going, you run the risk of dying, right? I have to spend a lot of money investing in these 2 evolution chambers. But there's no risk of dying when I'm expanding and I've built 4 cannons like an idiot. I mean, this is just a very smart exploit of what I'm doing. So what I'm thinking here is that, okay, if I'm Zerg, and Protoss opened up some way where he had to eventually pull back, I should power and get some upgrades, and I can make quite a lot of drones. Actually, probably around 70 food is the first time that I think there's really any threat of being attacked. That's a good number to remember now as Zerg. 70 food seems to be about the first time that I would ever really need to worry about any kind of attack. So that is definitely some phenomenal news to pick up on for me. I mean, I really am going to be using that quite a bit. I think that's awesome. Have I said that it's awesome? I really think it's great. Sometimes I lose track of what I'm saying, and I just repeat myself 20 times until I figure out what the hell I'm talking about. And it was good, guys. I really liked it. So now that I'm back and I'm sort of focused again, my next stage of this build is to get a robotics facility. So, since I haven't really discussed the stages of what I'm doing, so I go 2 gate, and then I expand, and then I get a lot of geysers. And with my 2 gates, I start making sentries. I get gas unusually early as Protoss. I should say I get the 4 geysers unusually early as Protoss, just because you can burn your gas on sentries, which are a very strong, versatile unit. And then I tech up to and then stage 2 is the robotics facility, where I get about 4 warp gates and this robo bay, and I start to try to think about pushing. And then the next stage is to take another expansion and go Colossus. And what we're going to see is that I start being a little too aggressive in these spots. Moonglade's, look at his beautiful creep spread, and he's getting ready to expand here. That's fantastic, right? That's just standard good stuff for Zerg. He's just doing the good, juicy junk. He's getting his Spire up. I love the timing of this Spire. Notice the timing over here on the Colossus. It's getting pretty close to being finished. So I really like the fact that he's getting that Spire early on and just taking care of that pretty fine and well and good. So, yep, pretty normal stuff, but good timing on this Spire over here. Really like that timing. I think that's great. So he's just continuing to make the roaches. He is continuing to expand, just playing passively. And in the meantime, is he getting the +2/+2 upgrades? Well, it looks like he's intending on it at the very least. And see, here's a nice little army mixture. I think I should have been taking my Immortals and knocking down these destructible rocks a little bit earlier. I kind of panicked and did it right now, just because I saw that my destructible rocks were getting hit. And of course, I'm getting my Thermal Lance really early. I'm keeping my money pretty low. And of course, here's where I'm like, that's right, get out. So I literally was feeling so confident at this point. I just thought that I was in phenomenal shape, and that wasn't exactly the case. I'm at 114 food, he's at 99 food, and here is where I begin to expand. Because he has this Overlord here, I just go ahead and expand to my gold. And these are the 4 bases that I'm intending on taking. My high ground, my gold, my natural, and my main. And I'm continuing to make Colossi, but I really still don't have that many gateways. Still just 4. And part of me feels like this Colossus might not have been the best choice. If I do get Colossi, this is something I've been noticing in a lot of my games. Colossi are awesome, but they get significantly better the more you get. Because what happens is I can use all these sentries I've been building up for a long time in the early game to make a bunch of force fields, and then my Colossi, which have range 9 once I get that range upgrade finished, they can just abuse everything from the most absurd range away. So, yes, that's great, and then I'm expanding. But see, now I start to be aggressive, and I'm not entirely sure this is justified. And see, he's trying to do stuff with the Corruptors. Again, he had good Spire timing. And as I poke around here, I note, is he getting his upgrades? He isn't, but I think he could have afforded to do so. He has his expansion up, just pretty much abusing a lot of roaches. And this is something that I think a lot of players are starting to see more and more. I mean, what really reminds me of this situation is whenever I watch a game between any player and Slush's Zerg, where Slush will have 15 million ways of getting harassed in the early game, and then he'll just still have a lot of stuff. A lot of players just sort of overestimate how much damage they've actually done to Zerg. And I think these attacks are a little premature. So I end up moving over here. I'm going to try to take out the gold. I think this movement by me was really bad. No, I actually guess it's okay. I mean, I'm cutting between here, but I should have done a good job of force fielding here. And look at where I do end up force fielding. I try to get there, but I end up missing, and I barely block it off. And he just gets his roaches really far up in my face, and because he got those Corruptors out at a really nice time, he ends up holding my push pretty magnificently, if I may say so. And I really think it's just because I pushed a little bit too early on. I could have not gotten the Colossi, and then just moved out with more Immortals and moved out earlier on, and I think that would have been more effective. Or I could have tried to get these Colossi and moved out later. But moving out with the Colossi early on, I think, was a pretty big misstep. And meanwhile, I'm just sort of setting up my gold expansion, so it really wasn't the hugest loss for me. I was like rolling my eyes a little bit. I mean, I had like 100% confidence at this point. I was like, yeah, I got this. I mean, I have my gold up. I'm expanding back here. You know, and looking at this stage in the game, Moonglade's money is like through the roof. You know, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm the best. And Moonglade's telling me that, like, you know, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but when your friend gets an achievement in the middle of the fight, it's like, this guy, he won his first game, and it like covers up everything on the screen. So I think that's pretty funny. And even with that advantage, I still end up losing the battle. So now, ordinarily, on another map, I would take my third base, and then I would flood with, you know, an additional 3 or 4 gateways. But because I ended up taking 2 more bases, thanks to Kulas' Ravine architecture, I ended up getting a whole bunch more gateways. So I can do a lot more aggression in there, feel a lot more confident with myself. And of course I have the Twilight Council, so that way I can get better upgrades, and I can continue getting the Zealot leg speed. And cannons are awesome, so I end up holding this off very, very easily. But I still want to kind of poke over here to Moonglade City, because, you know, if my opponent is at 2,000 minerals and I'm still struggling, then there's something wrong with what I'm doing. I think pretty clearly. We do see his Hydralisk dens going down, so I'm liking this idea as Zerg to pretty much just get a ton of roaches, just like roach, and get some corruptors and expand a ton. And just take the hits from the Immortals. But, you know, really abusing that gold expansion, I think, is just helped Moonglade so much. And then, of course, the range 9 on the Colossus. I can shoot from behind every single building I've ever made. So that makes me pretty happy. So this, I think, was a gigantic mistake by me. I decide that I want to get Templar. And Templar are good. I mean, I don't think anyone would deny that. But I just don't quite have enough storms. I think it would have benefited me more to get a second robotics facility and then continue to make Colossi. I really like Templar, but I feel like I need to cut out all this robo junk if I really want to be doing Templar effectively. I just don't quite have the gas to support what I want to do. So, you know, I have all my gateways up and running. I've expanded here. I'm getting as much gas as I can, as usual. I'm just feeling so good at this point. And this is another interesting little switch by Moonglade to begin getting the Hydralisks. A good Hydra Roach mix is always very strong, because if you're getting these upgrades for the Roaches, you're also getting upgrades for the Hydralisks. That's why a lot of unit mixes involve things of just the same type, like Ultraling, Roach Hydra, just because you get the same upgrades. So this, I think, was... I'm still curious about whether I think this is good or bad. I'm going to have to think about this. I'm going to rewatch this battle. I'm questioning whether I should have actually moved up here. I think maybe what I should have done is move around here and tried to take out this gold expansion, which, you know, apparently is about to be broke, but I feel like I'm trapping myself a little bit here. So I end up throwing down a whole bunch of force fields, and of course all my units auto-target the drones, because for some reason Blizzard definitely wanted that to be in there. And look at this nice little Roach Burrow move that Moonglade's using. I mean, that's just so strong. And look at how one-sidedly he just crushes my attack force. Fortunately, my Zealots killed off every single drone that he has. And again, still at this point, I'm having 100% confidence, but I really shouldn't, because he's starting to just have so many units. So, I mean, what I'm loving already by him is just, again, these very fast upgrades. He's now at 2-2. He got these upgrades really fast. He got the Spire kind of early to get Corruptors, just in case I did get the Colossi, which I did do. And you'll note that it allowed him to hold off that timing push with all the Colossi super easily. So what that means is that I just should not do that timing push. That timing push apparently is just way too vulnerable, and I absolutely should not go for it. So definitely think that it's a big misstep to have done what I did there. At the early stages of the game to try to move out like that. Going to try to rework that at a later point in time. And I'm just going to refresh this thing to fix the frame rate a little bit. And there we go. Should be back up pretty nice and high now. And, I mean, this is sort of the funny thing, is that, like, there are these big back-and-forth swings. I really think that after these battles, Moonglade should have played a little bit more passively and just expanded more. Because he keeps trying to do these attacks here, and he ends up losing a little bit more than it helps him out. This one was, like, probably the best one of all his series of attacks, because he actually did take out the Nexus without really losing too much stuff. But I'm chasing them with my very angry Zealots. And I'm just sort of happily re-expanding here. So now, at this point in the game, I start to go, wow, you know, he's making so many Roaches, and I just don't have that many Immortals. So I'm really just going to stick back to this Templar Ground Army mixture, and I'm going to not at all really worry about getting any more Colossi this game. And you see how that doesn't even sound good, you know, the way I've described that. Well, I had Colossi, I'm not doing it anymore. You know, it's not really the best way to go about things, so I'm going to try in the future to either just stick to Immortals or devote myself to Colossi pretty heavily. But I'm still, you know, doing pretty good. I have a pretty decent amount. But I think these pushes are just too early. I just defended him killing this thing off. And what do? Well, I instantly go ahead and attack. You know, I should have a little bit more patience here. And I end up killing this expansion, and that's great, but, I mean, I have one Templar and one Storm, and no units that really deal with masses of stuff quite well. I mean, look how many Hydralisks he has now, and they're 2-2, doing 14 damage a shot. That's so much. I should have left the sentries at the ramp to force field. There's a little tactics that I'm being a little sloppy about. So there goes my one Storm. Alright, I'm out of Storm. Okay. Need to be a little bit better about that. And I mean, it was kind of at this point where I'm like, okay, this is like the third little push I've done, and I should have been doing little things like putting force fields here. I just needed better general army control in addition to the timing. I mean, like, also up here, I mean, all my zealots were wandering up here killing off drones, which I guess is good, but I mean, I do need to bring the zealots that were up in this last attack. For any of you who don't know what I'm referring to, I'm just going to rewind back to this attack that I made a little earlier on. Where is it? I'm just trying to zoom through my replay here. Should have happened a little bit sooner around-ish here. But basically I made this second attack here, and it just, like, failed so miserably. Whatever, I'll just find it at some later point in time. So, yes, I'm trying to bust in here, and I ended up killing the expansion, but again, my general army control was a little off. He's doing nice burrow-unburrow tactics. And just general passivity is what's winning him the game. It is working so well. And here I am, I'm, oh god, I need to get more immortals. And look at this huge army I have now. Good job of macroing, but, you know, the timing is just kind of off. And I'm starting to realize that, you know, I'm getting low on money despite having all these expansions up for a long time, because I keep just throwing away too big of clusters of units in these attacks. I'm moving out with just too small of sizes, so there I'm continuing to upgrade, because obviously upgrading is great. But I mean, an army like this, I mean, just look at this general composition. I mean, I have a lot of zealots and a lot of stalkers, but I only have 2 immortals, and are there any Templar in there? Yeah, there's 5 Templar, which are going to be okay, but less good against the roaches. That's mainly an anti-Hydralisk style-ish force. And at this point, again, I'm just really aggressive with moving out, and I kind of need to start thinking about expanding, and these positions that I'm attacking I think are really bad. Why didn't I just bust down this destructible rock and march right on over here? This would have shut down his ability to expand and would have opened up the expo for me. I think that would have been fantastic. So, I mean, a lot of this, I'm feeling like my build generally is okay. I mean, I want to do stuff like thin out the number of Colossi I'm getting so I can focus more on Immortals if I'm choosing to go Templar, or cut out the Templar and go for more Colossi, something like that. But in addition, I mean, like, I'm just marching right here into the middle of all his stuff, and here come a bunch of storms, doing some good storming. Is it going to be enough? As we're going to see, not quite. And you know what? I'm out of storm. I just don't have any storm left. So I can morph into those Archons, which, as you note, are not the best unit in the game. And basically, every single encounter I've been in here with Moonglade, he's just gotten more and more and more slowly ahead. And that hurts. That burns into my soul. Still doing a decent job of macroing. Once this next production cycle finishes, I will drop down to 0. I'm chrono boosting things because trying to do a good job of just making stuff. But, you know, at this point in the game, I think Moonglade kind of has it in the bag. And I'm scouting here, and I'm just like, oh, Jesus. Seeing all this stuff. I mean, really, I'm mainly faulting my attack patterns for this. I really think that where I'm attacking is what's just biting me in the ass here. Because I don't think, I mean, it can't be bad to securely get up 4 expansions fast. That can't possibly be bad. And Moonglade isn't doing anything super cute, like doing a bunch of drops, doing a bunch of Mutalisk Harass to snipe Templar. He literally is just making ground units and having more ground units whenever I engage. And that's a severe issue that, you know, really makes me want to play him again and do the same build and fix all these problems. So I'm trying to expand again, and see, here's some more lack of forethought by me. Where do I take my 5th base? Really, in retrospect, I think that this should be my 5th base. That's pretty safe. Or this should be my 5th base. Oops, excuse me. This 5th base right here up on this high ground. Because here, I mean, really easy. I just kill this destructible rock. It's on high ground. I can put a guy at a watchtower. I'll be in great shape. I mean, the only threat is if he swings all the way around and then comes to kill this destructible rock. But that's pretty damn far for him. I'm not going to be too concerned about that. This one I think I like just a little bit more. It constricts the Zerg quite a bit, I feel. But instead I expand up here to the top right, which is the most vulnerable expansion on the map because I'm awful. And here I'm going, gee, wouldn't it be good if I just had units in the middle of the map? And here comes another small-ass attack. What the hell am I doing? What's wrong with me? What? Look at this. This is so small. Look, oh, I have my Templar. Do they even have enough energy? Okay, so there was one storm. Wait, I think I'm out of energy. There's a 74, an 18, a 74, 75. Storm, come on, storm! Do I not storm? Alright, well, I get a few off. Alright, double storm. Yeah, I'm awesome. So I kind of hide back here. And then here comes Moonglade with a bajillion more roaches. I'm going to end up losing pretty handily. And from here, I think it's pretty clearly downhill for me. So I'm going to speed it up. But I can't believe I lost this game. How did I lose that game? It really goes to show you that, you know, you can macro your little heart out and have your good timings. And if you're doing bad decisions with when and how you attack, it can cost you a game where you have complete confidence. I don't want to say that I had one, but I think it's impossible to argue that I wasn't in great shape with 4 bases and 9 warp gates here. Here's 7, and then there's 2 up here. I had my Robo Bay. I got the Twilight Council. I was upgrading. I was 3-1 at this point in the game. He's 3, or no, he's 2-2. So, whoops, didn't mean to rewind. I mean, there's so much good about what I did, and if I just fix some of those bad things, I really think that I'll be able to flex my muscles a little bit better in this matchup. And also, thanks to Martine's cool shirt, I'll be able to flex my muscles with a little bit of chest hair showing. And of course, we'll get to see that when I bounce back to the webcam. Yeah, and see, look, it's basically this big, miraculous swing back and forth as we both just keep trying to, you know, beat each other to death. We're like 2 80-year-old men in a slugfest, and everyone's just getting tired of watching us. We just look so exhausted, trying to force our fists into each other's heads, but just not happening, just not working out. So I cleverly send 2 stalkers up here to take out this Nexus, or excuse me, take out these roaches, and then immediately send them back. Again, keeping in line with me being a terrible player and making more bad decisions. And then, I mean, from here, I'm just going to speed things up a little bit. And by the way, hitting the P button, I'm hitting it, doesn't pause replays. But if you pause it and then press P, it'll resume it. So that's sort of annoying glitch. So here he's trying to engage, I'm trying to storm. I don't have enough stuff because he has a lot more stuff. And then it's just a slow fall from here. And look at this nice use of burrow, unburrow, getting the tunneling claws to do some cute stuff to get around the force fields, but in a lot of circumstances just healing up. And at this point I was like, oh my god, I'm out of money. I lost. And I was pretty blown away. I think I even said, like, wow, how did I lose? How on earth did I lose? But, I mean, it's a pretty epic game. Look at how bad I am. I'm going, wait a minute. In retrospect, I really should have made more Immortals. Therefore, at the 31-minute mark, I will make more Immortals. Alright, cool. Good thing I do my learning in between games and not during games. So I'm trying to warp more stuff in. Go me. Yeah, look at me. I was like, I guess I'm losing more stuff. And look at me. Even... I demand to fight yet more. So I'm going to happily check out the chat and take a few questions, definitely about that. So I think that's a great example of how you can do a lot of stuff right. And if you just do some bad stuff wrong, you're done. You get eliminated and broken and your face gets snapped in half. Also, before this cast is over, I did want to say that if any of you are having some issues with the viewing, I'm trying to adjust some settings because I want to make sure it's maximally awesome and perfect for everyone. So please go into the Day9 Daily thread on teamliquid.net and post in there and let me know how the things are going and looking. I just want to make sure they're not too choppy. For some people they're choppy, for some people they're not. And if and when and how it's choppy, that would be fantastic to know. So let us take some questions. So, the Peon Who Could says, Dear Day9, Moonglade went for pure roaches well into the mid-game. Do you think focusing on Immortals would be a better idea rather than wasting mineral gas on Coloxin? Yeah, that's, so what I would say is, I think the big thing was the choice of Templar. Because I was trying to get Colossi and Templar. And to be honest, if you get a lot of Colossi, they actually work beautifully against roaches. I mean, people read all this bullshit in the forums about hard counters. Oh, don't the immortals hard counter roaches? And yeah, immortals do a lot of damage to roaches. However, if you have a lot of sentries, stalkers, and colossi, you can force field to where the roaches can't even touch the colossi. And that is pretty damn good. So, I mean, kind of depends on what mindset you want to be in. And also the colossi do that sort of spread attack. So I think that I could have opted for more immortals and more standard ground pushes, or I could have opted for a lot of colossi and a little bit more passivity, or I could have opted to cut straight into this Templar stuff and just have a handful of immortals. I just think I was trying to do a little bit too much in there, so had to fix that up a little bit. So I am going to try to scroll down the chat, but of course I'm getting severe lag on my end, so I'm going to try to fix this. So let's see here. Weasler7 says, hey Day9, why didn't you send an early observer? Did you think you were just getting too far ahead? I actually did send an early observer. I just didn't make too big a deal about it. That's the first thing I made out of that robotics facility. I mean, I just built one, and I noticed that he was on 2 bases, right? He had his main, and he had this gold expo. And given the fact that I saw those 2 Evo chambers and a spire, I was like, he probably doesn't have a third. And I just checked his natural and his high ground cliff, and I was like, oh, he doesn't have a third. I've won! And of course, I was totally full of shit. So, Rizzlet says, Day9, how drastically do you feel that having full energy on all your Nexuses affected the outcome of that game and all Protoss games in general? It was only near the end when I was really having full energy. Through much of the early, I was doing a pretty good job of doing the chrono boost. I definitely do think, though, that I need to be a little bit more active in the later stages of the game of just mass spamming on all my warp gates, just to get a little bit more of a surge ahead. Because the best way to think about chrono boost in the late stage of the game is you are using your out-game resource of remembering to chrono boost in exchange for the in-game resource of building an extra gateway. In other words, I could have 9 gateways constantly producing stuff and get an army that's pretty big. Or I could use 8 gateways and be chrono boosting and get the exact same size army. But I just have to remember to do it. So I'm going to try to remember to do it. So True Power 22 says, Dear Day9, what do you think about Mutalisks as an alternative to Corruptors? What I would say is that it's a late game versus mid game thing. Mutalisks are great in the mid game. They can hit the Colossi, obviously. They can snipe things away. They sort of skew the composition more towards Stalkers and Sentries. And you can do harassment to the ground as well. So in other words, you have reinforcement to your ground units in addition to your air units. Because that's the one problem with Corruptors, that they can't shoot down. They have that garbage ability. It weakens a unit by 20%. But the Corruptors are more of a late game choice, as I'd put it, because you can turn them into Broodlords eventually, which are unbelievably strong. They're so strong. Broodlords are great against Protoss. So that's one thing that's really nice. If I'm going to be more aggressive, I'm going to favor the Mutalisks. If I want to be more passive and wait till Hive, I'm probably going to get those Corruptors. People asking some questions about when am I going to do my Stalker only thing. For any of you curious about that, I am going to be doing a video where I'm going to make an account where I only build Stalkers. And that's going to be the focus of it. It's probably going to be a 3 or 4 day split part discussion of how I'm going to try to do that technique. And the focus of it is to demonstrate how important it is to just have solid fundamentals of good unit placement, good timing, good macro, with just a pretty basic generic unit that is counterable by many, many things. So let's just take 2 more questions. Do you agree that this season of 24 is disappointing and the only reason you watch it is because you've seen every other season? Absolutely not. This is one of my favorite seasons of 24. I seriously am the most easily entertained person in the universe. And you know, I actually have this issue where I prefer to watch TV shows by myself as opposed to with other people because my suspension of disbelief is like through the roof. It's not quite big enough to watch like a lot of anime, but it's still pretty damn high. And I'll watch and I'll be like, oh, that person's a traitor too? Oh my god. And I'll freak out about it when really it's just the most underdeveloped character that they needed to kill off because they're firing the actor, you know. But still, I get really into that. So, what else is going on? So let us take just one more thing. So your High Templar rarely had the energy they needed. Don't you think that if you had researched Kadar and Amulet from the Templar Archive, you could have gotten in better shape? And you can feedback the Corruptors. Absolutely. I think that that is a fantastic adjustment. However, I want to add that there still needed to be yet more focus on the Templar. Not just getting the amulet so they can have more energy, but also cutting back on all my Robo-Bay units so I can get the Templar up as well. I want to streamline that as much as... excuse me, I want to streamline that as much as possible. Make it as smooth as possible. So it is currently 7:50, and I'm just going to go ahead and wrap up this Day 9 daily. It was an absolute pleasure to be doing this daily with y'all. Sorry for a little bit of a crasheroo at the start. That just kind of happens sometime. I'm going to try to sort that out, actually, right now. So that's going to wrap things up. Tune in to Day 9 Daily. It's always 7 p.m., Sunday through Thursday. And thanks so much for everyone. And if I haven't responded to any of your PMs, I'm sorry. I've just been busy. You can feel free to send more, but I can only answer a limited number. But still, love getting those PMs. So, hey, take it easy, everyone, and see ya.